Erica found the West Coast Trail on YouTube and we decided to do our first backpacking trip out of the country. So from June 21st through the 25th, 2026, the three of us, Erica, our oldest son Garrett, and I traveled to Vancouver Island in British Columbia, Canada for 5 days and 4 nights on the West Coast Trail, hiking through rainforest, across beaches, over towering ladders, through boulder fields, and on cable cars. Our first day on the West Coast Trail would take us from the first ladder at the Gordon River trailhead to Thrasher Cove, about 9 kilometers to the north according to my Garmin. Nearly the entire hike would be through dense coastal rainforest before descending a series of ladders to our first campsite on the beach. It wasn't a long day by distance, but it gave us our first real introduction to what the trail had in store and was definitely harder than anticipated. To reach the southern trailhead, you first have to take a short ferry ride across Gordon River. And once the ferry drops you off, there's no easing into the hike. The trail begins almost immediately with a long series of ladders. These very first ladders are well built and easy enough to climb, but they're your first indication that this isn't going to be an ordinary backpacking trip. The first day is a constant mix of climbing, descending, and climbing again. Just when you think you've reached the top, you're headed back down towards the next creek or ravine. Over the years, storms and fallen trees have taken out a number of the bridges. In several places, the trail has been rerouted down into the ravines and back up the other side, adding even more elevation change to the hike. We stopped for lunch beside one of the 2 old steam donkeys that were once used during the old logging days on Vancouver Island, long before this became a backpacking trail. Our destination for the first night was Thrasher Cove. It's a popular stopping point because it's about as far as most northbound hikers want to go on the first day if you start right after the required orientation, so we knew we'd have plenty of company. Day 2 took us from Thrasher Cove to Cullite Cove. Most hikers call it a day at Camper Bay, but we decided to push a little farther and spend the night at Cullite instead. By the end of the day, my Garmin showed we'd covered just over 19 kilometers, making it our longest day on the trail so far for day 2. Day 2 is a mix of beach hiking, but you also do have to go back up into the forest, and then when you get to your campsite, make it back down to the beach. We started the second day by making our way across a long stretch of shoreline covered in boulders. Progress was slow and every step had to be planned before committing your weight. It was one of those sections where a kilometer could feel much longer than it looked. The beach route is only possible at the right tide, so timing matters as much as your pace. All 3 of us fell at some point during this part of the hike.
Okay, now walk down to me. Stand up. And then walk. Nope, you can't. You can just walk down. Yep. Wow, so brave. So strong. So brave.
Then it was back into the forest where the trail became even more demanding with deep mud, tangled roots, and constant climbs and descents.
Don't fall because then I'll feel super guilty. You did it. Yay.
After navigating all the boulders and logs, Owen Point is a highlight of the entire trail and certainly a highlight of our day too. The sea caves, sandstone formations, and constant sound of the waves made it feel completely different from anywhere else we'd been up to this point. Yeah. After Owen Point is a long section of smooth sandstone, except it's intersected by a whole lot of surge channels that you have to navigate around because you can't get over them.
More to your right, up a little. Oh, maybe it slithered away.
Then it was back into the forest where the trail became even more demanding with deep mud, tangled roots, and constant climbs and descents. As you get close to Cullite Cove, the ladders just keep coming and we have a long descent down multiple sections of ladder. Our campsite for the night was Cullite Cove. It's tucked between towering sandstone cliffs. It didn't have as many spots to camp as the other campsites, but still had room for us. This was a very physically demanding day, and we didn't get into camp until after 8 p.m. despite our early start. We woke up at Cullite Cove to another beautiful morning, and a couple of banana slugs paying us a visit around camp. As we progressed along, we knew there was a burger shack along the beach that is open sometimes and not open other times. But we did make it, and it was open when we got there. The burgers are pretty expensive, but that's because it's pretty time consuming to get the supplies in. By the end of the day, we reached Cribbs Creek, where we'd spend our third night on the trail. We had good weather for most of our trip and very little rain, so all of the creeks and the river crossings, we really didn't need to use the cable cars, but everybody took at least one cable car on our trip.
You're so brave. You're so brave.
Particular cable car was very hard to pull and definitely gave you an arm workout. To get into Cullite Cove, you have to go down the longest set of ladders on the trip. And to get out of Cullite Cove, you have to go up the second longest string of ladders on the entire trip. The first part of the day is mostly up in the forest, where you get to go through the longest suspension bridge on the entire trail. Part of day 3 involved going through the bog, which is apparently an area of high acid, low nitrogen. And so all the trees are very stunted and very short. The hike was definitely getting easier, and the boardwalk in this section was very well maintained, and parts of it were even brand new.
15. Go.
Okay.
Hiking for a while, we decided to take a break at Walburn Creek, where a lot of people camped. After taking a break at Walburn Creek, we continued on, and the rest of the day, or most of the rest of the day, was beach walking, some of which was pretty easy, but a lot of it was very hard because the sand really sucks the energy out of your legs. The Nytom Burger Shack was open when we got there, and it was about $35 for a burger. The price is so high because of how difficult a supply run would be. Our destination for the day was Cribbs Creek, and we got there pretty early and set up camp and hung out the rest of the day. Cribbs Creek had plenty of room for everybody that wanted to camp there. For day 4, we started out leaving camp by walking over the natural breakers and then heading towards the Crab Shack. If you can get to the Crab Shack by 10:30, they're still serving breakfast. After that, they start serving lunch. A very popular campsite is Susiat Falls. We did stop there and take a break, but we went on to Klanawa Creek campsite, which is a little off the beach and back into the forest. A big part of day 4 was walking along shelves instead of actually on sandy beach. We got to the Crab Shack in time to get lunch, but not in time to get breakfast.
didn't say we'd go first.
He's looking for God.
Doug?
God.
First. Not first then. That's been on the North Thrasher, yeah.
After enjoying several loaded baked potatoes, we were ferried across the Narrows and continued hiking through the forest till we got to Susiat Falls. There were lots of campgrounds, but there were also lots of people, so we pushed on. The backpacking was getting much easier as we went along, and there are several portions of the trail that look like this that are just a walk in the park. We made really good time and got to the Klanawa River. We did not need to use the cable car that looked pretty long, and then found our campsite back in the forest off the beach where there were several really good campsites. We had planned to do 5 nights and 6 days, but we'd been watching the forecast and it was looking rainier and rainier, especially on day 6. So on our last day, we didn't have a definite plan. Left our campsite and worked our way up through the forest and through the beach. We made a few stops along the way, and we also had decided that we were going to make it to the last campsite, which was Michigan, and then take a vote and decide what we were going to do as far as trying to avoid the next day, which was rainy. So for day 5, we also decided to do something a little bit different and just packed up camp and decided to have breakfast on the trail after we had hiked for a little while. We had a mix of beach hiking as well as forest hikings, and also had an overlook where we could watch the sea lions for a while, which I'll show more of later. Voted on whether to continue past Michigan, and I lost the vote. So today ended up being our last day, day 5. As we went along, we saw the smaller steam donkey on the trail, and then also came across the abandoned motorcycle. Then, in no time at all, we were at kilometer marker 1, and our hike was almost over. We had to go up a bunch of ladders and down a bunch of ladders, but then before we knew it, we were at the orientation center at the north end of the trail.
You did it.
I had a great backpacking trip, although it was harder than expected based on what I had seen on YouTube, and it's probably a little overhyped for what it is, but it's great nonetheless. Along the way, we did see quite a bit of wildlife. Offshore, we would see some whales every now and again, although that was really hard to capture with just a mobile phone. There were also banana slugs just everywhere, including on the trail, so you had to watch not to step on them. On our first day at Thrasher Cove, there was a minx that went out on a rock at low tide, sat on the rock for a while, jumped in the water, and pulled out a crab that was as big as it was, and feasted on it for a while, and then after the tide came in, swam back to shore. When we were at the burger shack, we could see a couple otters fishing in the ocean. On the very first day, these woodpeckers were on this tree with the mama feeding its baby, which was almost as big as it was. And when we were walking along the ocean, we did get to see one bear disappear off into the woods. And there were these little tiny crabs just everywhere. On the last day, there was a lookout. You have to go a little ways off the main trail, and it's marked with a sign on a bench. And you got a really good lookout for some sea lions on a rock. Before we even made it to the trail, we were in Victoria and there were deer walking around eating the flowers in front of the old legislative building. I also wanted to mention logistics a little bit. So to get to the trail, we took the shuttle, which was a 2-hour drive to the south trailhead. And then at the north trailhead, since we cut our day off or cut our hike off early, we took a taxi into Bamfield. We stayed the night at a hotel or a motel in Bamfield. And then the shuttle was able to pick us up there the next day, take us back to the North Trailhead, take us back to the Gordon River Trailhead, and then take us all the way back to Victoria, which all in all was about 6 hours. Getting the permits is very competitive, especially if you want to get it on a particular day or a particular weekend or a particular direction. And then once you obtain the permits online, you have to go through an orientation and then also get the physical permits from the rangers. The West Coast Trail turned out to be much more challenging and difficult than I'd expected physically, but it was a very rewarding hike with family. We couldn't have asked for better weather, and the only bad day of weather we cut off and spent in Bamfield because the last day of hiking going north is definitely the easiest day. 5 days, 4 nights. I hope this video gives you an idea of what it's really like. Thanks for watching.